Oh god. I forgot to turn on my fucking overlay. Whoops. I don't know how long this will be because I have a cold. So I might sound really dumb. Um oh now we wait. Ho ho ho. Ho ho ho. Ho ho. Ho 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 ho. Ho ho ho. Damn, I really need to make an opening screen. I keep forgetting to do that all the time. Every day I just forget to make an opening screen. Hello, Queen. Alright, I'm gonna start now. My the Mife Mohili, I'm sorry that I'm so late. It's your favorite Jew, Olive, and today we're gonna be reading the Garden of Eloquence. First, I'm sorry I'm late. We had to set up my desk, and this might be a short stream because I have a cold. Probably from running around outside for too long. With my dogs, we took them down to the river. We finally have a place to swim them, which is good. They need that exercise. So I'm sorry if it's a bit less quality. Also, I decided to change it. It's because the Bund scripture is just, I don't know, I feel like it would annoy you guys. There was a lot of similar things. There's a lot of philosophical debate. And I thought, this seems kind of tedious, because it was a bit tedious to read it. Instead, we're going to be reading the Garden of Eloquence, or what's its name again? The Shou Yuan. This is a confusion. Oh, actually, it's just a Chinese philosophical scripture. You might get snacks right now. Alright, I hope you get nice snackies. But yeah, we're just gonna be reading this instead. I've been meaning to read my own religious scriptures, so I might as well. We're gonna be starting with chapter 1. Music, the way of the ruler, yes. I'm gonna start with chapter 1, section 1. Music Master Quan discusses rulership with Lord Ping of Jin. Tell me about the art of rulership, said Lord Ping of Jin, the music master Quan. The art of rulership, Quan replied, lies in the avoidance of activity. It stresses the wide bestowal of favors and aims at the employment of worthy people. It consists of keeping one's eyes and one's ears open, so as to learn the circumstances of every region. One must not remain stubbornly fixated in vulgar ways, nor allow oneself to be hemmed in by the views of close advisers. Rather, one must freely cast one's gaze afar, and stand in lofty independence, and one must frequently conduct inspections, so as to secure the compliance of one's subordinates. These are the principles of a ruler. Well said, Lord Ping being exchanged. Yi Wen discusses rulership with Quan Chuan of Qi. Tell me about rulership, King Huan of Qi to Yin Wen. Rulership, Yin Wen replied, lies in the avoidance of activity and toleration of subordinates. When tasks are few, let us note when they are easy to attend to, and when regulations are brief, they are easy to obey. In this way, the people can avoid being thrust into crime by those who govern. The highest skill lies in toleration of the people's ways, and the highest virtue in toleration of subordinates. A sage does little, yet the realm is reduced to order. A passage in the documents say, tolerance is the source of sagehood. A passage in the odes say, the way of Mount Cheese are simple. May your descendants preserve them. Well put, said King Huan. King Chen of Zhao admonishes Bo Qin. When King Chen announced Bo Qin as the Lord of Lu, he summoned Bo Qin to court and spoke with him as follows. Do you know the ways of one in high position? Whoever holds a position of great dignity must be all the more respectful of those below him, and must listen to the admonishments of the worthy. He must open the gates to the frank and fearless counsel, and act with defense and composure, so that his subordinates may feel secure. He must not use his authority to overawe his counselors and must not reject their words, but must treat all views with broad acceptance and then select the most notable among them. A ruler who is cultivated but lacks strength, let us note, will have nothing with which to compel the obedience of his subordinates. But when a ruler is strong and lacks cultivation, the people will shrink from him and not draw near. Only when strength and cultivation are used together can the majesty and favor both appear. Once majesty and favor appear, the people will draw near and willingly submit. The honest and upright will then have open avenues to advancement. The schemers and flatterers will be confined to low positions. Those with honest counsel will gain admittance, and the loyal and trustworthy will grow numerous. Bochen bowed twice in acknowledgment of the king's decree and withdrew. Xie Yi admonishes Lord Ling of Chen. Lord Ling of Chen was irregular in behavior and improper in speech. Xie Yi spoke to him as follows. Chen is going to perish. I have admonished your lordship repeatedly, but you have not listened to me and have allowed your dignity to decline even further. The effect of those in high positions on those below them, one may note, is like wind causing grass to bend. An east wind makes grass bend to the west, whereas a west wind makes grass bend to the east. The bending of grass depends on the direction from which the wind blows. Hence great care must be taken with the actions of a ruler. When a tree is crooked, how can its shadow be straight? When rulers do not make their actions straight and their words respectful, there are none among them who can safeguard their claim to authority or ensure that their names shall be fair and illustrious. The Changes, or the Yi Jing, says, when a man in authority is in his room and utters words that are good, then even those who are 1,000 li away will agree with them, let alone those nearby. If when in his room he utters words that are not good, then even those 1,000 li away will go against them, let alone those nearby. Words go forth from one's person and exert their influence on the common people. Actions commence nearby, but their effects are seen afar. Speech and actions are the hinges and triggers in the lives of those in authority. The working of these hinges and triggers determine whether the shame or honor will follow. Can one do otherwise than take great care with that by means of which a man in authority stirs heaven and earth? For when heaven and earth are stirred, all things stir and evolve. Some lines in the O's, I'm pretty sure it's the Shi Jing, it could be the Shang Shu, say, be cautious in your utterance, and cultivate decorum. Be always mild and good. That says it well, but now you take no care in this regard and act without restraint. If you do not lose your state, then you will surely suffer assassinations. Having heard this, Lord Ling felt that Xie Ye had spoken fiendishly and killed him. Later, he was in fact assassinated by Zheng Shu. Cool. Kongzi discusses games of sixes with Lord I of Lu. I have had. So, once again. Sorry. I have heard that a man of quality does not play sixes, said Lord I of Lu to Kongzi. Or Confucius. Is there indeed such a principle? There is, replied Kongzi. Why must one not play sixes? Asked Lord I. Because in sixes both sides strive to seize the advantage, replied Kongzi. Why, if both sides strive to gain the advantage, must one not play it? Asked Lord I. Because to act thus is to engage in evil, was the reply. Lord I was greatly taken aback by this. After a moment's pause, he asked, can a man of quality's hatred of evil extend even to this? If your hatred of evil cannot be intense, replied Kongzi, then your love of good cannot be intense either. If your love of good cannot be intense, then neither can the people's regard for you be intense. A passage in the Ode says, before I have seen my Lord, my heart is consumed with care. But once I have seen him, once I have met him, my heart is filled with joy. Such is the intensity of love and goodness that the Odes express. How fine! Exclaimed Lord I. I have heard that a man of quality brings to fruition the worthy aims of others and not their evil aims. Had it not been for Kongzi, how could I have heard this saying? Interesting. I wonder what sixes is. 1 second. I think it's a gambling game. 1 second. Oh, they're talking about Leo Bo, I think. Uh, okay. I don't know if that's the right game. Seems odd for them to like chi or go and not sixes. Whatever. Prince Yan of Heian discusses the rule of Yao. Prince Yan of Heian said, Yan made all the realm his concern and fixed his attention upon those in distress. He was grieved when the people suffered adversity and was anxious when the multitudes failed to thrive. When a single one of the people suffered from want of food, he would say, I am the cause of that man's hunger. When a single one of the people was cold, he would say, I am the one who has exposed that man to cold. When a single one of the people was punished for an offense, he would say, I am the cause of that man's entrapment. His humanity shone forth and his righteous deeds were known. His virtue was extensive and his transforming influence vast. Hence the people exerted themselves without the offer of reward, and good order existed among them, though no punishment were applied. Only after pondering the plight of others did he presume to teach them. This was the way of Yao. Yao was one of the 6 sage kings. Shun uses virtue to obtain the submission of the Miao, or the Hmong people. In the time of Shun, the Yu of Miao were unsubmissive. Reasons for this was that they had Mount Tai to the south, Mount Yen to the north, the waves of Dongting to their left, and the streams of Pengli to their right. It is because they relied on the rugged terrain of these areas that they did not submit. Yu wished to launch a punitive campaign against them, but Shun would not consent to it, saying, We have not yet used every possible means to teach them. He then used every possible means to teach them, and the Yu Mao asked permission to be his vassals. When the people of his realm heard this, they all blamed Yu for his lack of righteousness, and attributed the Miao submission to Shun's virtue. Um, the policies of the Duke of Zhao. When the Duke of Zhao occupied the Son of Heaven's throne, he spread virtue and distributed favors so that his example increased in brightness with distance from the throne. The 12 shepherds went together with 3 others to make survey of the people in distant regions. When they saw people suffering from want of food and clothing, people who had lost their position owing to lawsuits, and people who, though worthy, had not been raised to office, they reported these circumstances to the Son of Heaven. When the Son of Heaven held audience with the rulers of those regions, he bowed and had them come before him, saying, Am I to assume that our teachings and decrees are in some manner unsatisfactory? How is it among your subjects there are some who lack food and clothing, some who have lost their position owing to lawsuits, and some, though worthy, have not been raised to office? When the rulers returned to their estates, they summoned their court officers and related to them the Son of Heaven had said. When the common people heard this, they were delighted and said, This man is a true Son of Heaven. How can he live so far away yet perceive our situation so clearly? He is the one who cannot be deceived. Thus the 12 shepherds were the means by which the 4 gates were flung open, and the ruler's vision and hearing were extended in all directions. By this means those nearby were drawn close, and those in distant regions were enabled to live securely. Some lines in the ode say, Soothe the distance and strengthen the close, so as to make our king secure. That says it well. Prince Shan of Heishan discusses the policies of Yu. Prince Shan of Heishan said, Yu once spoke as follows, If the people have nothing to eat, I cannot impose tasks on them, and if projects once completed bring them benefit, I cannot urge them on. Hence he dredged the Yellow River so as to redirect its course. He cut channels in the Yangtze River so that it might communicate with the 9 tributaries. He connected the 5 lakes so that they might pour into the Eastern Sea, and the people were indeed subject to bitter toil, but they did not resent their hardships, for they were the benefactories of their work. He discusses the reigns of Yao and Shun. Once, when on an excursion, Yu saw a convict. He got down from his carriage, inquired about the man's offences, and wept. Those who were with him said, "A convict surely is one who fails to adhere to the correct path. That is what brings him to this state. Why does your majesty grieve to this extent?" The subjects of Yao and Shun, replied Yu, fashion their hearts upon the hearts of Yao and Shun. Now that I have come to the throne, the people all fashion their hearts according to their personal inclinations. That is why I grieve. As is said in the documents, when the people are guilty of misdeeds, it is attributed to me alone. The men of Yu and Ru are transformed by the example of King Yen. When a man of Yu and a man of Ru sought to have disputes settled by King Wen of Zhao. Upon entering King Wen's territory, they saw that the people there yielded to each other in claiming appointments as retainers and officers. And upon entering the capital city, they saw that the court officers yielded to each other in claiming positions as ministers of state. The two of them said to each other, "The people here defer to each other in claiming officers' appointments, and the officers defer to each other in claiming ministers' appointments, positions. That must mean the ruler will yield the right to rule the realm to other claimants, and will not regard it as his own." Before it had even been in the presence of King Wen, they gave up the territory which was in dispute between them, asking that it be treated as ownerless, uncultivated land, then returned to their states. Kongzi said, "Great was the way practiced by King Wen. It cannot be added to. Without moving, he transformed others. Without acting, he brought about agreement. Merely by being reverent and attentive, he caused the men of Yu and Ru to settle their disputes of their own accord." Thus the documents said, "Awesome indeed was King Wen." Well, that says it well. Duke Zhao instructs King Chen in the use of speech. Once when King Chen and Tang Shuyu were both at leisure, King Chen cut off the leaf of the paulownia tree, and treating it as if it were a tablet of investiture, presented to Tang Shuyu, saying, "By virtue of this object, I hereby confer a state upon you." Tang Shuyu was delighted at this and told King Zhao about it. The Duke brought the matter up to King Chen, saying, "Has your majesty conferred a fief on you?" "That is something I said in jest to you," King Chen replied. "Your servant has heard," replied the Duke, "that the Son of Heaven does not speak in jest. Once he speaks, the archivist records his words, the reciters chant them, and the men of service proclaim them. He then asked Tang Shu Yu in Jin. Dan, the Duke of Zhao, can indeed be said to have been skillful in the use of words. But with a single observation, he caused King Chen to take greater care in speech, gave expression to the love extended by an older to younger brothers, and strengthened the foundations of the royal house." Appointment of Yao and the vocation of rulership. In the time of Yao, Shun was the director of the multitudes, Xue was the director of war, Yu was the director of works, Ji was the director of overseers, was the overseer of harvests. I'm pretty sure Xue, Yu, and Ji are the founders of the Shang, and Shao houses. Anyways, Gui was the chief of musicians, Che was the chief craftsman, Bo Yi was the clan director, Gao Yao was the chief of judicial affairs, and Yi was in charge of the royal hunting expeditions. Yao, though life and strong, was not personally able to discharge any of the responsibilities. Why then was Yao the ruler and the 9 others his officers? Yao understood the matters pertaining to each position. He caused each of the 9 to undertake these matters and saw that each was equal to his appointment, so as to bring about the 9 accomplishments. Yao now thus brought his enterprise to fruition, and was king of all the realm. From this we can see that knowing men in the path of a ruler, whereas knowing affairs in the path of the officer. When rulers pursue the path of knowing men, and officers pursue the path of knowing affairs, the ancient laws will then not be thrown into disarray, and the realm will be well governed. Yi Yin discusses the assessment of officers. Tang once consulted with Yi Yin, saying, "Is there a way of knowing the character of the 3 dukes, the 9 ministers, and the 27 officers, and the 81 men-at-arms?" In former times, Yi Yin answered, "Yang knew people in the moment he laid eyes on them. Shun didn't know people until he had given them responsibilities, whereas Yu based his appointments on previous accomplishments. These 3 rulers let us know each used his own method to bring about the advancement of worthy people, yet they still at times fell into error. How much more must this be true of those who use no system but rely on personal whim to make appointments? Such rulers cannot help but make great blunders. So we may say that when a ruler bases his use of officers on their contributions rather than first impressions, he cannot miss a single time in 10,000. The selection of men by rulers. How does a king select worthy men? Kings, let us note, are able to rule only after obtaining worthy and capable people to assist him. Though a ruler may possess the enlightenment of Yao and Shun, if his 4 limbs are not in place, then his beneficent favor cannot go forth, and his transforming influence cannot be felt. Therefore, when an enlightened ruler assumes the throne, he devotes much care to the selection of officers. He devotes himself to the quest of worthy people, and he establishes the 4 aides to assist him. I hope this sounds good, by the way, chat. I keep having like a saga with editing my mic. You should give high rank and great stipends to those whose talents are brilliantly outstanding. The worthy should be advanced to the position of honor and renown, and the unworthy should be made to retire and take up life of menial labor. In this way, no care will remain to the ruler, and those who serve him will be free of wickedness and impropriety. The different officers will then be able to discharge their responsibilities, and the servants of the throne will derive satisfaction from their work. The ruler's beneficent favor will follow outwards to his subjects, and enrich the grass and trees. In former times, when Yu Shun had Yu on his left and Gao Yao on his right, the realm was in good order, even though he did not go out from the court. This shows what the use of worthy men can achieve. Zhang Taigong discusses the proper use of worthy men. King Wu once asked Taigong, "How is it that some rulers come to grief as a consequence of raising worthy men to office?" "Raising worthy men to office and then not using them," Taigong replied, "may gain one a reputation for elevating worthy men, but will not enable one to enjoy the due benefits of this practice." "How does this mistake arise?" asked King Wu. "It arises owing to the rulership's fondness for using people earning modest gifts, and its failure to obtain the truly talented." "Why are rulers fond of using people whose gifts are only modest?" asked King Wu. "Because they are fond of listening to praise and do not hate flattery. They mistake denunciations of worthy for worthiness, denunciations of the good for goodness, denunciations of the loyal for loyalty, and denunciations of the trustworthy for trustfulness. Such rulers mistake praise for themselves for meritorious accomplishments and criticism of themselves for wrongdoing. They fail to reward those who have made contributions and fail to punish those guilty of misdeeds. They advance those who promote their factions and demote those who hold factions in disdain. The result is that the officers all band together to keep the worthy in concealment, and the various functionaries form alliances to keep the praise on the disloyal. Loyal officers die unjustly owing to this slander. The wicked ones enjoy honor and reward due to flattery. Then the state cannot but perish. "Funny said," observed King Wu. "Today I have heard the nature of slander and flattery explained." Zheng Taigong discusses independence of judgment. "Why is it," King Wu asked Taigong, "that some rulers are unable to govern their states even though they obtain worthy men and treat their officers with respect?" "When rulers are unable to make their own decisions but instead base their decisions on the advice of others, disaster will be the result," said Taigong. "What do you mean by basing decisions on the advice of others?" asked King Wu. "Being unable to decide what to reject and rejecting what another advises him to reject. Being unable to discuss what to accept and accepting what another thinks is desirable. Being unable to decide what measure to adopt and adopting those another advocates. Being unable to decide what punishments to impose and opposing punishments proposed by another. being unable to decide what reward to distribute and distributing the rewards that another thinks suitable. Under these conditions, the worthy will not necessarily be employed, and the unworthy will not necessarily be discharged, and the officers will not necessarily be treated with respect. Good, said King Wu. How does such a ruler go about his tasks? His nature is such that he hates learning about his own circumstances and loves learning about the circumstances of others. He hates hearing about his own defects and loves hearing about the defects of others. That is why his state will not necessarily be well governed. Well said King Wu. Ning Qi discusses the 5 impediments to effective rule. Lord Huan of Qi consulted with Ning Qi, saying, Guanzi is now advanced in years. He may perhaps abandon me and depart the world, for I fear our regulations will no longer be enforced, and many people will lose their occupations. The people will suffer hardship and feel resentment, and the state will be afflicted with abandonment. What can I do to prevent scheming and dishonest people from appearing to ensure that their people are well fed and clothed? Or appearing and to ensure the people are well fed and clothed. The important thing is to obtain worthy men and give them responsibilities, replied Ning Qi. But how can I obtain worthy men? Asked Lord Huan. If you open a path for them and examine and employ them, and make their positions distinguished, their stipends great, their names illustrious, then the worthies of the realm will come together in eager crowds. I have already raised worthy men to office and given them responsibilities, said Lord Huan. But with the fortunate exception of you, good sir, no greatly gifted man in hempen clothes has directed his steps to my gate in order to seek an audience. That is because your lordship examines office seekers without discernment and fails to raise them to distinguished positions. And you use them with hesitation and confer mean titles and beggarly stipends upon them. One second. Maybe I should stop. The recruitment of worthy men by states, please note, is hindered by 5 impediments. Rulers not desire worthy men and have flatterers beside them. That is the first impediment. Those who propose policies that will benefit the state are not employed. That is the second impediment. Hemmed in as they are by obstructions, rulers must always turn to a few close confidants for examining any situation. That is the third impediment. Those who investigate criminal cases distort their presentations and exceed stipulations in fixing penalties. That is the fourth impediment. And those who hold responsible positions act just as they please and appropriate to themselves the authority of the state. That is the fifth impediment. Oh, hi, Alex. Are you going to sleep? Whose emote is that? One second. We're gonna go stare at Alex's emote. Well, welcome to being discussing how to rule. Oh, it's staff. Okay. Alright. Make sure it's extra long. We have another 40 pages before I'm done. I am a bit sick, because yes, I have a bit of a cold. Alright. we gotta put Alex to sleep. Mwah. Okay, night. What was I saying? Once these 5 impediments are eliminated, then remarkable talents will appear everywhere, and wise and worthy men will come to reside at court. But if these 5 impediments are not removed, then those on top will find themselves sealed off from conditions of the functionaries, and people at the bottom on the road to recruitment of the worthy will not be blocked from below. It is for this reason that the rule of wise kings and enlightened sages is like the seas and rivers. Owing to their boundless receptivity, remain forever laws of all lesser streams. Wise kings and enlightened sages are boundless in their tolerance and to enjoy peace and have long-lasting reigns. From this one can see that the security of a ruler and the prosperity of the people on more than just a single office. Well observed, exclaimed Lord Huan. I shall write down those 5 impediments so that they may serve as warnings to me. Man, I am messing up a lot, but it's probably because I'm just a bit sick. Young Ying of Qi discusses the importance of having positions filled. Lord Jing of Qi consulted with Yan Ze, saying, I'd like to adopt your proposals and reform the administrations of Qi. I have heard, Yanzi replied, that a state cannot reform its administrations until its officials' positions are all filled. Qi may be small, said Lord Jing with a look of impatience, but how can you say that its positions are not filled? That is not what I mean, said Yanzi. In earlier times, whenever a former ruler, Lord Huan, was indisposed and could not issue orders, then Xie Peng will assist him. Whenever the fault of his attendants numerous and punishments were ineffective, then Xuan Zhang would assist him. Whenever those residing at court could cast off restraint and his attendants grew fearful, then Dong Ya would assist him. When the fields and meadows were not well maintained, the people grew apprehensive, then Ning Chi would assist him. When the army officers were lax and the soldiers took liberties, then Wang Zi Cheng Fu would assist him. When his virtue failed to be conspicuous and his reputation for trustworthiness declined, then Guanzi would assist him. A former ruler was able to use the strength of others to supplement his shortcomings, and their abundance to supplement his scarcity. That is why his commands went forth to the farthest regions and were never flouted, and why his troops, when sent against offenders, never suffered any setback. That is why the vassal lords paid tribute to their virtue, and why the Son of Heaven presented him with sacrificial viands. But now, though your lordship's errors are numerous, no officers concern themselves about them. That is why I say your positions are not filled. Well observed, said Lord Jing. I have heard that Gao Liao is often in your company. I beg you to present him to me. I have heard, said Young Zi, that one who wages war merely to gain territory cannot be a true king, and that one who strives for the sake of stipend and position cannot be a true statesman. As for Gao Yao, he has long been a brother to me, but he has never intervened in cases where I was at fault, and never acted so to make up for my deficiencies. He is merely one who seeks stipends and positions. How could he ever make up for your lordship's deficiencies? Guo Wei discusses the importance of honoring worthy officers. King Zhao of Yan consulted with Guo Wei, saying, My territory is narrow, the men of Qi have seized 8 of my cities, and the Zhongnu horsemen gallop about Lofan. Though I am unworthy, I have inherited the guardianship of an ancestral temple. I fear the altars of the state are in danger. Is there a way to preserve them? There is, said Guo Wei, but I fear your majesty will not be able to adopt it. King Zhao rose from his mat and said, I wish to, I beg to hear it. One who serves the supreme lord is called a servant, said Guo, but is actually a teacher. One who serves the king is called a servant, but is actually a friend. One who serves a hegemon is called a servant, but is actually a servant. One who serves an endangered state is called a servant, but is actually a captive. Now, if you face east and seek servants by means of imperious looks and gestures, then people worthy to be called laborers will come to assist you. If you face south and hold in court and do not admit the use of courteous forms in seeking servants, then people worthy to be domestic servants will come to assist you. If you face west and use forms proper to equals, are modest in demeanor, and do not rely on your authority in seeking servants, people worthy to be friends will come to assist you. If you face north as one who reverently receives the teacher's lectures, and use hesitant diffidence in seeking servants, then people worthy to be teachers will come to assist you. These principles should enable you, at best, to fulfill the role of a true king, and should allow you at least to fulfill the role of hegemon. The choice is yours, your majesty. I wish to study, but I have no teachers, said the king of Yan. If you truly wish to adopt the way of kings and hegemons, said Guo Wei, then I beg you to open the path to all worthies of the realm. After this, the king of Yan always had Guo Wei sitting facing south in a position higher than his own. After 3 years, Suzu heard of this and was drawn from Yan to Zhao. Zhao Yan heard of this and was drawn to Yan from Qi. Yi heard of this and was drawn to Yan from Zhao. And Chu Jing heard of this and was drawn to Yan from Chu. When these 4 gentlemen arrived, they in fact made a feeble state of Yan, the equal of mighty Qi. Qi and Yan, we may note, were not naturally states of equal strengths. What caused this situation to arise was the powerful aid of those 4 men gave the yarn. The passage in the Ode says, "Stately are the many officers, they are King Wen's repose." That sums it up well. King Zhuan of Chu worries about his inadequacy after defeating Qin. Having vanquished the court of Zhen, King Zhuan of Chu went on to defeat the armies of Jin. His general Zhi Zhong addressed him 3 times and each time failed to propose sound policy. His return journey to Chu, King Zhuan passed by the town seat of the Marquis of Shen. The Marquis presented food to him. When noon arrived, the king still had not eaten. When the Marquis apologized to him for serving him poorly, the king sighed and said, "I have heard that when a ruler is worthy in his generals and has generals to assist him, he can become a true king. And when a ruler is only of middling capacity but still has generals to assist him, he can still be a hegemon. But when the ruler is of the lowest sort and none of his officers come up to him in ability, he must perish." Sorry about that, I started a bit. "In this instance, I am a ruler of the lowest sort, and my officers are moreover not my equals. I fear I shall perish. Yet the realm has no lack of sages and no lack of worthy men. Even when the realm possesses worthy men, I alone cannot obtain them. What use of eating is my life to be like this?" Thus one can see that after having vanquished great states and having drawn the laws to him in his righteous deeds, he was still consumed with anxiety and was fearful he had no men of character or wisdom by his side. Regretting his own unworthiness, and yearning to obtain men of worth, he forgot to eat throughout the morning. He was worthy to be called an enlightened ruler. The 3 fears of an enlightened ruler. An enlightened ruler has 3 fears. The first is that, owing to his high position, his faults may not be brought to his attention. The second is that, owing to satisfaction at some great accomplishment, he may grow proud. And the third is that, although he may hear the wisest advice in all the realm, he may be unable to put it into practice. How can we know why this is so? When Gao Zhejian, the king of Yu, fought men of Wu, he inflicted great defeat on them, and extended his sway to the 9 tribes of the Yi. At the time he faced south and issued a decree to all his near and distant officers: "If anyone should hear that I have been at fault, and should fail to report that fact, the crime will merit execution." This is an example of a ruler fearing that, owing to his high positions, his faults may not be brought to his attention. In former times, Lord Wen of Jin fought a high battle with Chu, won a great victory, and set fire to Chu's encampments, after which the fire burned for 3 days. After he had withdrawn from the field, Lord Wen's face had a worried look. One of his attendants said, "You have won a great victory over Chu. Why do you now look worried?" "I have heard," said Lord Wen, "that only a sage can be secure after winning a great victory. Those who win through sudden good fortune are never free of danger. That is why I am worried." This is an example of a ruler fearing that he may grow proud owing to his satisfaction at a great accomplishment. In former times, Lord Huan of Qi obtained the services of Guanzhong and Xi Peng, who had then laid their theories and proposals before him. On the day of the first month's sacrifices, Lord Huan had a great feast with the beef, mutton, and pork, which he offered to the ancestors of the ruling clan. Lord Huan stood facing west, while Guazhong and Xi Peng stood facing east. Then Lord Huan made the following announcement: "I have enjoyed the privilege of hearing you 2 gentlemen speak. My vision has grown clearer, and my hearing keener. I dare not keep your words as a personal possession merely, but desire to present them to my forebears." This is an example of a ruler fearing that, though he may hear the wise words of all the realms, he may yet be unable to put it into practice. Young Ying of Qi discusses omens. When Lord Jing of Qi went hunting, he went up a mountain and saw a tiger. He went down to a marshy place and saw a snake. On returning to court, he summoned Young Xie and consulted with him, saying, "Today, while hunting, I went up a mountain and saw a tiger. When I went down to the marshy place, I saw a snake. These things are probably what people call unlucky omens, are they not?" "A state has 3 unlucky omens," said Young Xie, "and the things you mention are not among them. To have worthy men and be unaware of it is first. Be aware of having worthy men but not employ them is the second, and to employ them but fail to give them responsibilities is the third. The term unlucky omens only refers to these three things. In this instance, you went up to a mountain and saw a tiger, that is a tiger's dwelling. You went down to a marshy place and saw a snake, that is a snake's lair. How can it be unlucky to see the dwelling of a tiger or the lair of a snake? King Zhuan of Chu discusses the usefulness of hunting. Queen Zhuan of Chu was fond of hunting. An officer admonished him, saying, Jin and Chu are enemies. If Chu doesn't scheme to conquer Chu, then Jin will assuredly scheme to conquer Chu. What the hell? But aren't you immersing yourself in pleasure? I hunt so as to obtain officers, the king replied. One man charges into a den of thickets and thrusts a spear into it, tigers and leopards. That is how I know he has courage. Another catches rhinoceroses and does battle with them bare-handed. That is how I know his sinews are strong. Another distributes prey at the conclusion of the hunt. That is how I know he is fair-minded. Relying on these principles, King Zhuan obtained 3 officers, and the state of Chu was made secure. Hence it is said that if one has the will to accomplish something, then there is nothing that doesn't have purpose. That says it well. There are rhinoceroses in China? That's fucking sick. Hold on a second. There were. That's interesting. Sorry about that, Chad. I was suddenly like distracted because holy shit. That's cool as hell. In the time of Tang, there was a great drought that lasted 7 years, and the river Lu dried up and sand sizzled, and the rocks were ready to melt. At this juncture, Tang had a man take a 3-legged vessel to pray to the mountains and streams. Oh, this is in the center of Tang and ends a great drought, sorry. He instructed the man to pray as follows. Is it that our government has been ill-regulated? Is it that we have caused the people to suffer hardship? Is it that we have fallen into habits of bribery? Is it that slanderers have been flourishing? Is it that the palace buildings are too ornate? Is it that the influence of women at court has grown too great? Why has the lack of rain been so severe? Before the words of his prayer had all been uttered, the sky let fall a great deluge of rain. Hence one can perceive that heaven's response to human actions is as close as a shadow following a form, or an echo answering a sound. The passage in the Earth says, Sacrifices are made and objects buried everywhere. There is no spirit that is not worshipped. These lines refer to a time of severe drought. King Taiwu reverses an unlucky omen. In the time of King Taiwu of the Yin dynasty, the Yin are the Shang, I'm pretty sure, a mulberry tree and a chu tree began to grow in the palace courtyard. They first appeared as it was growing dark, and by the next morning they were so large that their trunks could fill a man's embrace. The tree's archivist asked leave to make a divination concerning this in the temple dedicated to Tang. Taiwu agreed to this. The words of the divinations were as followed. I have heard that unlucky omens are the harbingers of blessings, but if you see a lucky omen and do evil, then blessings will not appear. Unlucky omens are the harbingers of disaster, but if you see an unlucky omen and are able to do good, then the disaster will not arrive. The king thereupon began coming to court early each day and not leaving until evening. He concerned himself with the hardships of the people and conveyed words of comfort to the bereaved. Within 3 days, the mulberry tree and the chu tree had disappeared. What's a chu tree? Alright, whatever. King Wu Ding reverses an unlucky omen. The title Gaozong refers to Wu Ding. He was exalted and revered, and so was given the title Gaozong, the exalted and revered one. After Cheng Tang, the ruler of the early kings, had gone into decline, the laws had been capriciously applied. A mulberry tree and a chu tree began to grow in the palace courtyard. After 7 days, the trunks were large enough so that a man could barely put his arms around them. Wu Ding summoned the Prime Minister and consulted with him about the matter. The Prime Minister said, I know the cause of this, but I cannot speak. Then Wu Ding consulted with Zhu Ji. Zhu Ji says, the mulberry tree and the chu tree are wild plants, but they are now growing at court. It appears the state may perish. Along with this, Wu Ding practiced abstinence, cultivated his behavior, meditated on the rule of the former kings, re-established destroyed states, revived extinguished lineages, elevated the wise recluse to office, and promulgated the practice of caring for the elderly. After 3 years, no fewer than 7 tribes of Man and the Yi came to pay their respects to court, messages of their leaders passing through multiple translations. He was a ruler. He was indeed a ruler able to save a state and a lineage from extinction. That is why he is exalted and revered. A Song ruler acts so as to regain heaven's favor. There was a great flood in Song. Lu sent a man to condole with the ruler, saying, Heaven has caused heavy rains to descend, swelling the streams and rivers. The water is now spread to your lordship's territory, causing anxiety to your functionaries. I am charged with respectfully conveying to your state condolences. The Song ruler replied as follows. I am of little worth and have not been diligent in observing the rules of abstinence. I have failed to put our stipendiary towns in good order, and I have requisitioned labor at unseasonable times. Thus heaven has visited calamity upon me, and has made your ruler anxious as well. Though unworthy, I am obliged to your ruler for condescending to send this condolence. Man of quality hearing of this remarked, Perhaps the state of Song still has prospects. What do you mean? Another asked. In earlier times, he replied, Zhou of Xie and Zhao of Yin took no responsibility for their faults, and their end came suddenly. Cheng Tong and King Wen of Wu knew how to take responsibility for their faults, and their rise was correspondingly swift. When one corrects a fault, let us note it is as if the faults never existed. That is why I said the state still has perhaps some prospects. Sorry, chat. I don't feel well. When the Song ruler heard of this, he began to rise early and retire late, to attend court early in the morning, and not retire till evening, to condole with the bereaved and inquire after the ill, and to exert himself to the utmost in the management of the state's affairs. In 3 years' time, the harvests were bountiful and the state's affairs were stable. If the Song rulers had not heard the distinguished man's comments, then his harvest would not be plentiful, and his state would not have been free from troubles. A passage in the Odes says, He assists me in shouldering burdens, and shows me the illustrious virtue. That expresses it well. King Zhao Chu fell ill and had divination made, the words of which were, The spirit of the Yellow Rivers is causing him trouble. The court officers asked permission to offer a great feast of beef, mutton, and pork as a sacrifice to the river spirit. Don't do it, said the king. In early times when the former kings conferred fiefs upon their followers, the sacrifices did not exceed those used in the Wang ceremony. What's that ceremony? Oh, okay. Which is a sacrifice of mountains and rivers. The Yangtze, the Han, the Sui, and the Zhang are objects of one's sacrifices in Chu. When good or ill fortunes come, the sources of it do not go beyond these rivers. Though I am deficient in virtue, I cannot have offended the spirit of the Yellow River, so the sacrifice was not carried out. When Zhongni, or Kongzi, heard of this, he said, King Zhao can be said to have known the way of heaven. That he did not lose his state was indeed fitting. Okay. King Zhao Chu declines to have 2 ministers suffer illness in his stead. Once during the reign of King Zhao Shu, clouds resembling birds flew past both sides of the sun. After 3 days, King Zhao grew alarmed and had mounted his couriers to head east to consult with the archivist Zhao Li. Zhao Li said, Injury will be done to the king's person. But if a chief consular or army marshal is used instead, this can be avoided. When the chief counselor and the army marshal heard this, they fasted and bathed and prepared to offer up prayers that the injury be transferred to them. The king said, "Do not do this. I am to chew as the chest is to my body. The chief chancellor and the army marshal are to chew as the four limbs are to the body. If an illness in the chest is transferred to the limbs, how can one say that the illness has left the patient?" Lord Wenozhu moves his capital to Yishan. Lord Wenozhu had a prognostication made about the capital of Zhu to Yi, about moving the capital of Zhu to Yi. The words were as follows: "It will benefit the people, but it will not benefit the ruler." Lord Wen said, "If it benefits the people, then it will benefit me as well." That having created the people and set up a ruler for them was for their benefit. If the people are benefited, then their ruler will surely share in it as well. His attendants said, "If your lordship's life can be extended, why not do so?" "The purpose of my life is to be a shepherd to the people," replied Lord Wen. "One's length of life is fixed. If the people can be benefited, what could be more auspicious?" He then moved the capital to Yi. King Zhuan of Chu seeks heaven's chastisement. When King Zhuan of Chu saw that heaven was free of pernicious spirits and the earth was free of evil portents, he prayed to the mountains and streams, saying, "Could heaven have forgotten me?" That he was able to seek the chastisement of heaven demonstrates that he was not averse to admonishment. In times of security, he did not forget the possibility of danger. Hence, he was able to, in the end, become a chief of the lords. On the creation and maintenance of the way, Tong said, "When medicinal food is taken, it is first tried on the people of mean status, and only then is it given to people of high rank. But medicinal speech is first presented to people of high rank, and only then is it heard by people of mean status. That medicinal food is first tasted by the mean, and only afterwards tasted by the nobles, is due to established teachings. The medicinal speech is first offered to the noble, and only afterwards heard by the mean, is because that is the path such words must travel. The one who has others taste food before eating it himself will obtain many flavors, whereas one who has another taste speech before him himself will hear but a few discourses. Therefore an enlightened ruler in dealing with words must listen to them himself, must hear them himself, must select them among himself, must adopt them himself, must assemble them himself, must store them away himself, must put them into practice himself. Thus the way becomes clear through being adopted many times, it becomes known to all through being put into practice many times, and is preserved through being applied to all things. For this reason, one who seeks the way must use the heart rather than his eyes. One who adopts the ways must use his ears rather than his hands. King Wen of Chu compares the character of two officers. When King Wen of Chu fell ill, he informed his officers of it and said, "Guan Rao guides my actions through the appeals to righteousness and goes against my inclinations through appeals to ritual. I am ill at ease in his company, and when I don't see him, I don't miss him, but I benefit from his advice. You must give him court rank at once for my sake. Bo, the Marquis of Shen, encourages me to do as I wish, and anticipates me in putting what I enjoy into practice. I am at ease with his company, and when I don't see him, I miss him. But I suffer setbacks due to his advice. For my sake, I must send him away at once." The officers agreed to this. They conferred the rank of court officer on Guan Rao, while presenting Bo, Marquis of Shen, with a gift to send him on his way. When the Marquis was about to go to Zhen, the king said to him, "There are some things you must guard against. Your behavior is unprincipled. You desire to appropriate yourself to the power of others. For traits like these, you should not go to Lu, Wei, Shong, or Zhen." Marquis ignored his advice and went to Zheng. In 3 years, he took over the administration of Zheng. The men of Zheng killed him 5 months after that. Oh, rip. Zhao Zhangji expresses a wish to drown Luan Ji. Once when Zhang Jie of Zhao went on an excursion with Luan Ji, he wanted to have Long Ji cast into the Yellow River, saying, I have been fond of music and women, and Long Ji has produced them. I have been fond of palaces and pavilions, and Luan Ji has made them. I have been fond of fine horses and skillful drivers, and Luan Ji has sought them out. But I have been desiring to obtain worthy men for 6 years now, and Luan Ji has not presented a single one to me. This is tantamount to promoting my faults and casting away my virtues. Zhao Zhangxie agrees to reform his ways. A person once said to Zhao Zhangxie, why don't you reform your ways? I will, said Zhangxi. He then said, your lordship has no faults, what is there to reform? I gave my agreement necessarily because I had faults, replied Zhangxi, because I am seeking people who come to me with admonishments. If I had responded negatively, I would have been the same as rejecting an admonition. Admonishers would then stop coming, and my faults would develop at pace. On Wuzhi, this continues a hunt. Once when Wuzhi of Han went hunting, the beasts had already been driven together, and the hunting chariots had been formed around them when the messenger came, saying, the Jin ruler has passed away. Speaking to Luan Huaiji, Wu Zi said, you are well aware that I am fond of hunting. The beasts are driven together, and the hunting chariots are gathered around the circle. I first complete the hunt, and then go mourn his lordship. The reason the clan of Han perished, Hua Zi replied, is that they had many who assisted them, but few who admonished them. As for me, I have belonged to the class of people who assist you, whereas Lei is the one who admonishes you. Why don't you consult Lei? Do you wish to admonish me, Ying, Luan Huanzi's personal name? Said Wu Zi. You have already done so, there is no need to consult Lei. He then discontinued the hunt. Sorry, chat, I'm really hungry, but we're going to finish this fast, because it's not too long. Marquis went away, pardons Master Jing for striking him with his ziffer. Once when Master Jing was strumming the ziffer, Marquis went away, got up, led dancing, saying, let me speak and not be opposed. Master Jing picked up his ziffer and used it to strike the Marquis. The blow missed the Marquis, but hit the strung pearls hanging from his crown, ruining them. Turning to his attendants, the Marquis asked, what punishment should an officer receive for striking his lord? The crime merits pardon, they said. Music Master was seized and had already been led down to the first ascending steps leading to the cult when he said, may I see one thing before dying? Yes, responded the Marquis. In former times, said Jing, Yao and Shun feared only that, when they spoke, they might not meet with opposition. When Jie and Zhao were kings, they feared that, only when they spoke, they might face opposition. I was kidding, Jie and Zhao, I did not strike your lordship. Release him, said the Marquis. This was my fault. Let the ziffer be hung on the city wall so that it may serve as an emblem for this occasion. Let the pearls not be replaced so that the missing strands may stand as a warning to me in the future. Oh, that's cool. I too want to strike the lord of my city, for no reason. I'm just insane. Lord Jing of Qi mourns the death of Yan Zi. Once when Lord Jing of Qi was out on an excursion to the river Zi, he heard that young Zi had passed. Donning the white garb of mourning, he mounted a carriage and hastened back, changing his horse to each relay station. Feeling that the carriage was moving too slowly, he dismounted and walked away swiftly. But finding then that this was not the fast as riding, he mounted the carriage again. As the carriage approached the capital, he dismounted and went on foot 4 times, weeping as he walked. Upon arrival, he laid his head on the corpse and moaned loudly, saying, Sir, you scrutinized my actions day and night without omitting the tiniest detail. But I continued to behave recklessly and did not control my excesses, so that people have suffered a long acclamation of injustices and hardships. Today, disaster has befallen the state of Qi, and instead of falling on me, it fell on you. The altars of the state are in danger. To whom can the people now address their concerns? Zhang Zhan declines a gift of fish from Lord Jing of Qi. 17 years after the death of Yang Zi, Lord Jing of Qing entertained his officers at a wine feast. When Lord Jing took a turn in shooting, his arrow pierced the target emerging on the side. Everyone in the hall gave a shout of admiration. The sound seemed to have come from a single throat. Lord Jing's expression changed. Giving a great sigh, he cast aside his bow. When Zhan Zhang came to see him, Lord Jing said, Jin has been 17 years since I lost Yanzi. In all that time I have not heard anyone speak of my faults. Just now, as my arrow pierced the target, yours sounded as if you had but a single voice when you shouted in praise of it. This, said Xian, shows that we officers are unworthy lot. Our wisdom is not sufficient to enable us to perceive your lordship's fault, and our courage is not sufficient enough to us to brave your lordship's displeasure. I have heard a saying concerning this, what a ruler loves his officers will accept, what a ruler has a taste for his officers will eat. When an Indian eats yellow food, its body turns yellow, and when it eats grey food, its body turns grey. Do you not at times partake in words of the flatterers? Well put, said Lord Jing. In regard to what you said today, you are the ruler and I am the officer. The sea folks just at that time made a gift of fish to the court, so Lord Jing bestowed 50 carriage loads of fish upon Jing Shan. As the latter prepared to return, the carriages of fish blocked up the road. Taking the hand of his driver, Jiang Zhan said, the ones who shouted their appreciation the other day all wanted to get these fish. In former days, Yan Ying would refuse gifts so as to better correct the actions of his ruler, and the result was that the ruler's faults weren't covered up. Now the officers all use flattery as a means of seeking profit. That is why they all sounded like a single person when they shouted in praise of lordship's feet. And as for me, the sort of assistance I give to a ruler is not to be observed among the officers. In accepting these fish, I am going against the high principles of Yangtze and going along the aims of the flatterers. He firmly declined the gift of fish. A man of discernment would observe that the scrupulousness of Yang Shan, we can see the lingering influence of Yan Zi. The vocation of the ruler. Heaven, let us note, does not appear to have created humankind for the sake of rulers. Nor does heaven appear to have created rulers for the sake of their positions. When, on becoming a ruler, one pursues personal desire without regards to others, this is a fail to accept the intention of heaven and to forget the actions that are appropriate to the position one occupies. The spring and autumn annals do not call such rulers capable, but regards them rather as akin to the Yi and Di barbarians. Owing to his hatred for a single man, the Council Shen abandoned the man's entire army, so that he was said to be an unworthy ruler who behaved like the Yi and the Di. If a ruler does not consider such matters, then he will lose his grasp on the essence of his position, and on what can he rely to aid his understandings. It is that said, he who rules a state cannot but study the spring and autumn annals. That says it well. Music Master Zhu Fu discusses the assassination of Long Xuan of Qi. When the men of Qi assassinated their ruler, Lord Xian of Lu snatched up his dagger pike and stood up, exclaiming, "What officer would dare assassinate the ruler?" Music Master Zhu said, the Qi ruler, please note, did not govern his state in a capable manner. He performed his duties unworthily and gave free rein to his personal desires. That is no way to make his position secure. His death was self-sought. But now you can nothing of the lives of the 10,000 people but instead grieve for the death of a single man. How mistaken that is. Qi's officers have assuredly acted wrongly, but Qi's ruler is still not worth regretting. Gongzhi discusses the legacy of King Wen, King Wu, and the Duke of Zhao. Gongzhi said, the King of Wen is like the Duke's inaugural year. King Wu is like the spring king, and the Duke of Zhao is like the first month. King Wen had Wang Ji as his father and Tai Ren as his mother. He had Tai Si as his consort and King Wu and the Duke of Zhao as his sons. He had Tai Jian and Huang Yao as officers. His basis for rule was splendid. King Wu rectified his person so as to rectify his state, and rectified his state so as to rectify the entire realm. He liked those who went counter to the way and punished those who committed crimes. No sooner did he act than all of the realms was well ordered. His enterprise was correct. When spring arrived at its height, the myriad forms of life were born. When the ruler arrives at the way, the myriad people come to be well ordered. The Duke of Zhao saw his own example, and in the realm became his subjects. His perfection of character was complete. On the evolution of the power among rulers. The reason rulers are of exalted status, their officers are of low status, is that the tide of events causes it to be so. When the tide grows weak, let us note, authority topples. Hence the Son of Heaven fails to practice the way, and the status of the vassal lords is exalted. When the vassal lords fail to govern effectively, their court officers rise in prominence, and when the court officers fail to carry out their functions, the common people come into the fore. From this we can see those who hold low positions cannot gain power until those in high positions fail to rule effectively. Oh, I was mistaken. Okay. Kongzi discusses the rise and fall of dynasties. Kongzi said, as long as Ya had still not lost the way, the virtue of Shang could not appear. As long as Shang could still not lost his virtue, the virtue of Shao could not appear. As long as Shao still had not lost its virtue, the spring and autumn era could not emerge, and after the emergence of the spring and autumn era, men of qualities realized that the way of Shao perished. Thus, the mutual obliteration of the high and low is alike, the mutually destructive actions of fire and water. Rulers of men cannot help but look into this, and when the subordinates grow greatly powerful, this is because the private structures flourish while the public enterprises collapses. If rulers of men do not look into this, the state will be imperiled. Once is said, power cannot be exerted from the two sources. Government cannot be lodged in two places. Hence it is said that when the shins are greater than the thighs, one cannot walk. When the fingers are larger than the arms, one cannot grasp objects. When the trunk is small and the limbs are large, it is impossible to make the limbs do one's bidding. Jihan of Shang drives his ruler from the state. When Jihang, the overseer of works, was prime minister of Song, he spoke as follows to the Song ruler. The security of the states and the order of society depend on the ruler's use of rewards and punishments. When rewards are just, worthy men are encouraged. When punishments are deserved, evildoers are stopped. When rewards or punishments are not fitting, the worthy are not encouraged, and evildoers are not stopped. The wicked will then collude with one another, deceive their superiors, and isolate their rulers so as to pursue rank and stipends. One cannot be but careful about this. Rewards, gifts, and promotions, please note, are what people like. Let your lordship carry these out. Punishes and executions are what people hate. I beg permission to be the one to undertake them. Good, said the Lord of Song. You shall be in charge of what is hateful, and I will carry out what is appealing. That way the other lords won't laugh at my want of wisdom. Lord of Song thenceforth carried out the distribution of rewards and favors, and had Shi Han take the charge of punishments. When the people of the state learned that the authority to punish was in Shi Han's hands, the great officers drew near to him, and the people gave him their allegiance. 1 year later, Shi Han drove his ruler from the state and took over the government of Song. Hence it is said, do not make the ruler weak and the officer strong. Lao Tzu said, a fish cannot leave its watery depths, the sharp weapons of the state cannot be lent to others. That says it well. And that was the first chapter of the Shaoyan, or the Garden of Eloquence. This was on the way of the ruler. I'm very sorry, chat, but I am quite sick, and also I'm very hungry, because I walked out today. So we're going to be ending stream now. We will not be raiding anyone, the stream will simply end. Tomorrow we're going to be doing art and maybe some other fun stuff, I don't know. And the next day we'll be playing with Connie, or not playing, doing art with Connie. And after that it's the usual collabs and then karaoke. I hope you all enjoyed today's stream. I had a lot of fun and I hope you did too. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye everyone.